Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Let There Be Talk. Today is Monday, November 27th. Whew, we got past that Thanksgiving. Right on, past the Thanksgiving. Hope you guys all had a great Thanksgiving. An amazing Black Friday. Did you get beat up for anything? Did you get punched in the face for a VCR? What about Cyber Monday? You getting some bullshit today you don't need? Cyber Monday? What's happening? Anyway, today's my last day in New York City for a while. And thanks to my man Marcus Price for the spot to lay my head down in. Let's see here. Something cool happened to me while I was here this week. I went into the deli I always go into over there across the street from the stand. And I was getting one of my Poland Springs flavored waters. That's my addiction. They don't have it on the West Coast. So dumb. Poland Springs. I get the black cherry. I'm in there getting one. And in walks Rick Ocasek, which was absolutely fucking insane. Rick Ocasek. That's a rock star I've never met. And that guy's like a ghost. Like, you never see Rick Ocasek. It's so crazy. This guy's a fucking legend. A legend. Rock and roll. They're on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ballot again. They should have been in fucking first round. These guys are like the Tom Petty of new wave and that whole era. It's insane. Came out in 78. They got so many hits. This is why I said they're like Tom Petty. Go to their greatest hits record. I went and saw them live back on the All Shook Up tour. And I told Rick they have no piss tracks. And he was like, what's that mean? And I went, no bad songs so I could go take a piss during the show. This band is so underrated. Look at their hits. Just What I Needed, My Best Friend's Girl, Good Times Roll, You're all I Got Tonight, Bye Bye Love, Moving in Stereo, Let's Go, It's All I Can Do, Dangerous Type. Oh, I love that one. Touch and Go, Shake It Up, Since You're Gone, I'm Not the One. Dude, I'm only on 14. Drive, Magic, Hello Again, Why Can't I Have You, Tonight She Comes, You Are the Girl. All right, look at that. That's 20 hits. And they're like Tom Petty where they got a shitload of killer deep tracks, which is just insane. How is this band not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame immediately? These guys don't get any respect. I was talking to Ari Shaffir about it. It's like, this is lunacy. These guys, go back and listen to the Cars. You're like, oh yeah, I took these guys for granted. Unbelievable. Got to meet him, talk to him a little bit. Tried to get him on the podcast, of course. He gave me the old, oh yeah, man, the kind, oh yeah, man. And anyway, what an honor to meet that guy. Never thought I'd meet him. So shout out to Rick Ocasek. And he's still married to that supermodel Paulina. This guy, like that doesn't happen. You marry someone in rock and roll and you're still married to her 100 years later. That's awesome. Anyway, the Cars, man. So I've been rocking the Cars for a week straight, walking around New York with my headphones and just rocking the Cars going, this band is amazing. And I can't get enough of them again. I loved them growing up. And it's like one of those bands, out of sight, out of mind for like 10 years. And now I'm back on it. And I'm glad I am. I always feel like something like that was meant to be. For some reason, I met Rick Ocasek. And later on down the road, it'll come out why I did. Who knows? Maybe I end up doing some kind of radio show with him or something. And then we'll be like, remember that time I met you in the deli? He'll be like, not really. Anyway. Let's see here. Shout out to Alan Emberg, my buddy, my old school buddy, made a donation to Let There Be Talk on the patreon.com/Dean Del Rey. Thank you, my man. Thank you for the donation. Let's see. Big day here today for me. today is the 5 years ago today, I got passed at the Comedy Store. And every year I always bring it up. It is definitely one of the top 3 things that ever happened in my life. And I just absolutely love everything about that building and everything that it has done for me. And it's given me a second life for sure. And I can't even tell you how special it is to be a paid regular at the Comedy Store. And every time I go there, I smile, and it never gets old. It has never gotten old. It's amazing. Every time I go there, I just go, yes, the Comedy Store. That's probably the only thing that keeps me in LA. If the Comedy Store was gone, I would have burned rubber years ago. That is the bottom line. Because I've been in LA 16 years. So it's like, yeah, I've done that. But the Comedy Store keeps me there. I can't imagine my life without the Comedy Store. So that's definitely pulls at me all the time. So that's why I was shown a great apartment here in New York a couple days ago, and I was like, ooh, shit, am I really going to do this? This is a great apartment. You know, so that's the beauty of Bicoastal. I've been here for a month, and now I'm going to head back, and I'll be in L.A., and they're both fantastic. Thanks to everybody that came out to the shows. I can't thank you enough, and thank you to the Stand. My guest today is a fantastic comedian and a great friend that I met in New York. That's why I love coming out to New York. I got a lot of great new friends here over the last couple of years, and I've like Aaron Berg, I had him on the show. Of course, Ari's here, and my guest today, the great Tim Dillon, a fantastic human, funny man, and he's got a lot of good stuff going in the business. So you're gonna love this episode. We riff on all kinds of funny shit, and if you are on the East Coast, get your ass down to the Stand and see him. He's here usually almost every night. I can't thank him enough for doing the show. Thanks, Tim. And thanks to all of you for tuning in. If you are in, let's see, Albuquerque this week or Tucson, Arizona, I will be out there with Bill Burr this Friday and Saturday, December 1 and 2. So check it out. Albuquerque Friday, Tucson Saturday. The following week, I'm going to be in Sacramento with Joey Diaz. This is going to be incredible also. December 7, 8, 9, I will be at the Punchline in Sac with Joey Diaz. And then the rest of the year, you can just catch me in L.A. at the Comedy Store. I guess that's about it. Let's get into the episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review on iTunes. That's how we keep it going. And spread the word, grassroots style. All you Dell Razors, salute. Here he is right here, Tim Dillon. All right, here we are, another episode of Let Me Talk. Great guest today. I am in New York City. We are staring at the stage at the Stand, opposite of how we usually are on stage with my guest, Tim Dillon. How are you, buddy?
Good, buddy. It's kind of freaky being here in the audience, looking at it, going, this is what people see, except they're looking at me, sweating, screaming at them, trying to elicit some kind of laughter response even.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's an
interesting vibe.
It's almost like the magic trick is out when the lights are on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're looking at Joe setting the tables.
Yeah, I mean, this is like you're at a Broadway show. Everybody's in their costumes, but they're sitting on the stage complaining.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, the magic is over.
Yeah. I wanted to read your Twitter background thing here. The background photo. Here it is.
Absolutely.
I'll be honest about my shit. I spent time in crack houses and I got into drugs. I started doing blow at 13 and was a closet homosexual. My mom is schizophrenic, That's why I'm like this. Now I want to know what everyone else is like. As I read that, I was like, well, that's all the makings of a comedian.
I mean,
there
you go. I mean, that's a weird pitch doc to have on the top of the Twitter, you know?
Yeah.
That's a summation. Those are the broad strokes of what led me down the path. But it's funny. I never thought about, because I have it on the top of the Twitter. I think it's kind of a fun way to just sum it up, you know, in a few sentences.
This is me.
This is it, you know? This is the eHarmony profile.
Yeah.
So, this is, I got into drugs from 13 to 25. That was my phase.
Yeah. How old are you?
I'm 32.
Right. And you quit drugs?
I quit drugs.
Program or anything?
Yeah, I did the program. I did all that. I did, the church basement stuff and the fucking making coffee and handing out cookies and doing all the right, and then I kind of got into comedy. And
what made you quit drugs, though? Because, like, I often promote drugs.
Yeah,
in my
I do too, especially for anyone that's in a relationship with me or watching me do stand-up. I promote all the substances.
Yeah, well, I understand that people get messed up and people die and or they lose everything, but I do not regret any of my drug era.
I don't either.
And I would regret if I didn't do them.
I don't either. And I did a ton of psychedelics that I think had a positive impact.
Absolutely.
But, I think that, and to be honest with you, the people I was around, I learned things from, and the environment I was in, I learned things from.
You learn math.
Math.
What an 8 ball. And
you learn
grams, quarters, and ounces.
You learn math.
Money.
I think you get a fairly good idea of, the way the economy works.
Yep.
On a low level, like supply and demand.
Totally.
You learn more about that as somebody who's buying drugs, I think, than somebody who's in an economics class. I mean, just the idea of wanting something, waiting. I mean, back in, when I started doing drugs, it was no cell phones. You'd wait outside a payphone.
Yeah.
For a call.
Pagers.
And then you would walk away from the payphone. And I remember, like, as you walked away, you'd be like, is it ringing? And, like, somebody would run back and check. And, so I don't regret it. I think you grow out of things.
Yep.
And I think that's what was happening to me. I was like,
did you hit a rock bottom?
Well, I bought a house.
You bought a house?
Yeah.
You were on drugs?
That was the rock bottom. I bought a house at 22 with a subprime mortgage, and I was
How'd you buy a house? Were you working a gig?
No, you could buy houses because the mortgages were all fake. It was all pretend.
Oh, yeah, during the
it was all bullshit.
Fannie Mae, all that shit.
Yeah.
06? What year were we talking?
I bought it in 07.
Yeah, there you go.
06, the end of 06.
Oh, those fake loans.
Yeah, it was, and I was selling them. I was a mortgage guy.
Oh, I got you. So
and
you're
I was
a mortgage guy and you're doing coke.
Yeah, and I'm not even good at, I'm barely selling mortgages. That's how much coke I'm doing. And here's the thing about not selling mortgages then. Do you realize what a bad salesman you have to be?
Yeah.
Because
they're giving them away.
You're giving them away.
What's this, a 480 credit score? Oh, you're in.
I would be like, we're going to give you $500,000 and you pay like, I don't know, $700 a month. And they would go, we're still not going to go with you.
Yeah. Right.
It's like, oh, I'm not meant for this. Like,
where was your house? Astoria?
Long Island.
Oh, Long Island.
Where I grew up. And I just bought a house and like, it was really fucked up. And like my buddy Brian was in the car. We were driving. We were smoking weed in the car. And he's like, where are we going? I said, go to a closing. He goes, a closing? I said, yeah, I bought a house. And like, this is how fucked up the time was.
Yeah.
He didn't even question it. He just looked at me anyway. He said, talks like this. He looked at me and he went, you're doing good. You're doing good. and it was just like, it was insanity. And I mired myself in this crazy debt. And I started drinking a lot because like, I bought it right on the edge. Like,
you got upside down.
I went upside down really quick.
Yeah.
The economy fell apart. The bank I was like barely working for evaporated.
Right.
So now I got a house. I got a mortgage. I'm living up the street from a real, I call it a blood box, like a little small old man bar called Lisa's Lounge.
Yes,
okay.
Love it.
The
Some
guy
day
that
drinking Bukowski shit.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, love it.
The guy that owned the bar, listen to this. He named it after his daughter, Lisa, who was killed, I kid you not, by a drunk driver.
Whoa.
And he named the bar. Unbelievable.
Dude, that is the lowest.
Dude.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go out and open a bar.
Yeah.
And call it, I'm going to dedicate it to my daughter who got murdered.
Absolutely. And
That'd be like opening a gun shop if someone fucking shot your son.
Yeah, it's like the Columbine parents going and opening.
Yeah.
And her photo was on the bar. Like, you would look at her.
Oh, my God.
And it was
It'd be like, hey, you going to drink and drive tonight? Because that's my daughter up there. Oh, my God.
So I started walking to this fucking place every day and really drinking heavily. And I was 22, and I was the youngest person in the bar probably by 25, 30 years, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm hanging with these people. And here's the other thing. I started to become friends with them.
Yeah.
Like, I start to
hanging out with old people.
Old fishermen.
Yeah.
They were like, they all called him by, there was a guy named Chuck the electrician.
Yeah.
There was a guy named Frankie Produce because he worked at a fucking grocery store.
They got jobs. Then there's Jimmy No Job.
Yeah, Jimmy No Job. There was an old lady named Marge who used to come in and
I used to know a guy, No Worky Don.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was his name. No Worky Don. Guy never had a job. He'd be like, I need some gas money. He'd be like, get a job.
So, like, I was 22 and, like, my buddies, I had, like, I guess I have an ability to sell. I guess not anything, not real estate or stocks, but I could sell my friends on the idea that, like, whatever I'm doing is fun. It ain't a problem.
Yeah.
This is fun. So they saw me hanging out in this bar. They were kind of like, I talked to them years afterwards. I'm like, did you guys ever think this was a big problem? They're like, not really.
Yeah.
We thought you just lived up the block from this crazy bar and you, like, would go because you're that guy.
Yeah.
That would just not give a fuck. And I'm like, oh, well,
that's what you do when you're 22.
It is kind of what you do.
I never questioned any.
Yeah.
All of us. You and I often say it on this podcast. You go through that phase of, like, you get into Bukowski, you get into some Burroughs.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're like, there's something cool about just drinking all day.
Yeah.
It's like bar fight.
You become a gonzo journalist.
Yeah. You're like
creating the stories,
you're
baby.
Totally, you're taking all three guys and you're forgetting that they all had money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
man.
Those guys had money.
Absolutely.
Like, they never talk about that.
They never talk about that.
But they were fucking.
There's actually a great book written by a guy named Dave McGowan, who's kind of in the conspiracy realm, but he wrote a great book about Laurel Canyon.
Oh, yeah.
About all the bands that came out of Laurel Canyon in the 60s.
It called?
It's called Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon.
Wow.
Okay? And
Never
what he
read
did,
this book.
it's fucking really cool. I'll give it to you next time I'm out in LA.
Yeah.
Or you could pick it up. It's a cool book. What it looks at is a lot of the families of these people. Like, Jim Morrison's dad was a naval intelligence officer,
yeah,
and Crosby, Stills, and Nash, is related to David Crosby was related to the Van Rensselaer family, one of the wealthiest in the country. So this whole idea of, like, this counterculture being these, like, rugged. Out there, these kids, for the most part, were all from
kids.
Yeah, rich kids.
Yeah,
and it was interesting. It's like
it's
real
like the
rich
Strokes, their family. But I often look at that as it can go two ways.
Right.
That's why I hated the Grateful Dead growing up, and I love them now. But it was always these Trustafarians that were like, dude, I need a miracle, man. It's like, you got $5,000 in your pocket. They're just doing this shit for fun. But there's the other side that really does rebel. Like, I don't really like the demons of my family tree of what they did for this money.
Yeah.
And I want to get the fuck away from it. But they always had that safety net.
It's interesting, man. And I mean, these guys who are tremendous and the talent is unquestionable. But it's interesting to kind of look at, that whole movement in, like, a larger context of, like, a lot of these, quote unquote hippies and stuff like that were actually from these really kind of conservative, almost like military industrial complex families. Kind of an interesting mind fuck a little bit, Right. And then you see that some of them really spoke out against shit. Some of them didn't. It's very interesting to see, like, a lot of them were just kind of into the free love and drug shit. And they were like, they weren't. So it was interesting. Like, Jim Morrison wasn't a huge protest guy, you know?
No.
And his dad, and then you read about his dad and you're like, oh, well, he kind of grew up in that life. So McGowan wrote that book, and it was really, really interesting for a guy like me. I still love that Laurel Canyon area of LA.
It's great.
It's fucking amazing, dude.
My dream was to move there when I first moved to LA, right? And then real quick, you start to realize, like, oh, well, if I got to shit, I'm stuck in traffic.
Forever.
At all hours of the day to get to your house.
God forbid.
There is a whole fucking mystique to that Laurel Canyon Country Mart there.
Yeah.
You know, this canyon vibe. And I got friends that all live in there.
Yeah.
And whenever I go up, I go, this is great, you know. But later on, you realize there's better canyons, like Beechwood Canyon.
Yeah.
You know, you go, oh, wait, this one has parking. You know?
I think the cool thing about the Laurel Canyon for me was like, you know, that era of the 60s was like, you had all these bands, you had cults.
Yeah.
You know, like real cults.
Real
shit.
cults.
I love that shit.
I love cults. You know, I grew up around the guy in a grape, Jim Jones.
Yeah.
You know, I'm
so
Bay
like,
Area,
you know,
shit.
these fucking cults, and
Manson,
these, you know, Manson.
He's
and
gone now,
there was
but
this
wow.
guy, Vito Polikas, who was like, one of these, they called them the freaks that used to hang out, and those were the guys that would hang around the Birds and all of these, you know, bands that were coming out, and like Frank Zappa and all that shit.
Yep.
So to me, I love all that history. And then you drive through Laurel Canyon, it's like these fucking weird houses that are just overgrown with fucking, you know, weeds and stuff. And so to me, it was always like, that I dig the mystery of that area. Like when I was a kid, one of the things that we used to do was Long Island, we'd take a blunt drive.
Yeah.
So we'd go like smoke weed and drive around, usually rich areas.
Yep.
Because you don't get caught usually because there's like one cop who's asleep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because nobody's.
It's so safe there.
It's safe. Nobody's doing anything. And I hate to say it, we're like white. You know?
Yeah.
That's one of those like everybody says like. Yeah, white privilege, it's an annoying thing when you keep hearing it, but it's like, it is true, because I used to get high in a lot of cars.
Yeah. Oh.
Driving around.
Oh.
Never
I drove
bothered.
around with no registration for
Yeah,
2
me
years.
too, yeah.
Try doing that, not white.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like expired tags.
Yeah.
That guy pull you over, he'd be like, you guys head home and get those tags fixed tomorrow.
So
you
we
know?
would like just fucking get high, and then like we would stumble into these areas, and like, you know, we'd see like the remnants of a castle.
Yeah.
And then we'd go and we'd like fucking look it up, and it'd be like, oh, that was the Hearst Castle. Like the Hearst family, this major publishing empire, had a fucking castle somewhere on the North Shore of Long Island. It's just these weird, cool things. And that's what I love about that area of LA. You could just explore.
Oh, yeah. Well, it has so much history. LA really does. There's different histories. There's murder histories.
Right.
There's movie star histories.
Yeah.
And then there's like actual architecture history, you know, of like all those case study homes, and all those, you know, those Frank Lloyd Wrights.
Yeah.
And there's all this different history there, and that's why it's so fucking cool.
It's crazy, man. I do a show on a tour bus in New York. I used to be a tour guide. And one of the things I do for every like a couple of months, I'll rent out a tour bus and then take people around the city and just kind of give this uncensored tour of like.
And how did you learn the stuff? Did you read about it?
I was interested in it since a little kid. I was always interested in like big money and these players and who these guys are and these guys that build fucking buildings and where they live and how long they've been rich and all that shit. I've always kind of been interested in that.
Me too.
Yeah, it's just fascinating. And
when you were doing the tour, though, they were giving you the stock shit.
But I wasn't even doing that. I would do my own shit.
Yeah.
And some people would love it, you know? I'm giving you a lot more meaningful shit here.
I'm giving you the underbelly.
I'm giving you the real
that
deal
Godfather
shit.
shit's bullshit.
Yeah.
This is where it went
This
down.
is
The
where it is.
Gambino family and all that shit.
So I'm doing a tour in LA.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do one in LA because it always sells out in New York. A lot of people have emailed me and go, would you ever do one in LA? And I go, abso-fucking-lutely.
Yeah.
They have those buses out there. I'd have to figure out a route, but I'd be really into that. And I mean, I don't know if you can even take one of those things up in the fucking canyon, but I would definitely love to plan out a route and do something in LA because it does have a lot of history. And I think and the other thing is these things are funny, and LA is a great city to make fun of.
Absolutely.
Just like New York.
Yeah.
Because there's so much shit that's ridiculous.
Do you want to move to LA?
I think eventually.
Yeah.
I think it's coming.
It's funny because I'm at the other end where I want to move here, you know?
Yeah.
Just because I mean, when you're in LA so long, and what's going on now is just the explosion of traffic, which is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
You start to get into the freedom of just the subways or just walking around here.
Something great about New York. I've lived here. I'm 32. I've lived here my entire life.
Right. So there you go.
I love it. It is not a novel anymore to me, and that
I believe everybody should move once.
Yeah.
A good major move.
I was an actor as a little kid, so I was coming in the city 7 years old.
Oh, yeah.
going on auditions.
Were you doing shows?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I live 3 blocks away from Kaufman Astoria Studios, where I did Sesame Street when I was like 10.
Oh, wow. You were on Sesame Street?
Yeah, 2. And I remember the restaurant.
A bunch of them or just one?
3 times.
3 times.
And then you age out.
Yeah.
You age out.
Yeah.
They throw you to the street like a pig.
You're out of here.
You're gone. I actually uploaded on Instagram a note they sent my mother. It was like the first rejection. They're like, your child's done nothing wrong, but we're not picking him up for another seat. Like, they've aged out. Literally, the note was like, we've identified our viewers are actually as young as 2 now.
Wow.
2 to 4.
2 to 4.
And they want to see themselves reflected.
Yeah.
They don't need your gawky 11-year-old prepubescent fucking weirdo.
That's funny.
They want to see themselves.
What year was that?
Dude, 95?
95. What year did they introduce Elmo? Like he was.
I don't know.
Now they got new guys, right?
Everybody's new now.
Yeah.
I think they have an autistic puppet.
Right.
I don't know. But it's like, but that's how New York I am. It's kind of crazy that like, I remember doing that, and then I remember the fucking Italian restaurant that's still open, Piccola Venezia, where me and my grandmother went and ate, and the mafia guy who owned it at the time was hitting on her, and it was like a big joke, and I was 95, and it's 2017, and I'm living 3 blocks away from that.
Right.
So it's like I'm in this thing heavy.
Yeah.
You can't get, I'm deep in here.
But once you go there, there is that the thing of, people are like, well, you get way more spots in New York. And I would argue that because you could get way more spots, but are they quality spots?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Sure, I could do 8 in a night, but let's really look at them. Are they the Cellar, the Stand, or West Side Comedy?
And here's my thing. I'm a hustler.
Me too.
So I will, and I don't mind getting in a car.
Yeah.
So I will traverse the state looking for work. Like I don't. And I mean, here's the other thing. It's like, I'm not planning on moving tomorrow or anything, but like, I will, wherever I am, I'll try to get as many spots as possible.
Exactly. I mean, that's kind of like you and I were bonding last night.
Yeah.
We were laughing at people's work ethic, and it's hilarious when people try to use things as a credit.
Right.
Or, hey, Billy Joe tweeted at me today. And bring me on stage to that. You know what I mean? Like, they're all trying to do shortcuts and everything, and it's hilarious because at the end of the day, you don't get anywhere unless you do the work.
You got to do the work, and why wouldn't you want to do the work? Because that's the only thing that really matters.
It's the best part about it.
It's the best part about it, and I think that I think me and you are fundamentally different people than the people that are just trying to get to the end.
Right.
And I think that comes from maybe age.
Yeah.
And it comes because I think when you talk to a young person, they don't get it.
They just want to be famous.
They just want to be famous.
That's all they care
And by the
about.
way, they don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
They just know it means that people like them.
Yeah.
And a lot of people like them.
It was like that garbage can in the audience last night. You know what I mean? She comes in. She says, I was on one of the housewife shows.
New York,
Yeah, and
great.
she's like, I was on one of those shows. So she's disrupting the entire fucking showroom that was packed and no clue on at all that she's ruining the show.
No clue.
And because she was on a reality show for a minute, she thought that she was had special privileges.
Yeah, she thought that she was more important than everybody else and that her experience mattered more than anyone else's. And that's what you tend to find with a lot of people that want only fame.
Right.
They are living in a world where their experience...
It's the Kardashian effect.
Absolutely.
Over and over and over, and it's getting worse and worse.
I didn't even think you could get famous.
famous.
Like, as a comedian, I didn't even know that you could... Like, I knew that people got famous.
Yeah.
But it didn't seem like a logical means to fame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, I always was like, man, if I could just do the Comedy Store and it's packed, that you've made it.
Absolutely,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
And like, I never thought about anything else except going down, okay, there's people in the room, I've made it.
Yeah.
And I'm doing fucking comedy.
Yeah, that should be the goal.
That's like Seinfeld said, doing the comedy is the reward.
That's the reward.
We're not mowing lawns or selling fake. Like, I'm like you. I sold motorcycles.
Yeah.
I got nothing. If I don't do this, I'm just a sales guy.
Yeah, that's exactly
And
what I am.
sales sucks.
It's exactly what I am. There's nothing worse than sales. Trying
Nothing.
to build that book.
Oh,
you know?
my God.
And sales is a business of throwaway people for the most part.
Yeah.
You know?
And they always think you're lying. No matter what, you're lying.
You're
Hey,
lying.
Man, I can't go back there because this is the price. Even if you showed them what the price is of something, they'd go, well, that's the first paper. I want to see the real
Yeah, what's
paper.
the real? You know, somebody told me once, it was a writer that I've had on my podcast, which made sense. He goes, in this country now, we're at a point where like all worst case scenarios are automatically assumed. You know?
Exactly.
So someone's coming to rob me. This someone's walking down the street. They're gonna put a knife in my throat. It's a real psychic fucking horror show.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
This guy's getting on the plane, gonna be terrorism.
Yep.
Everything's in negative. So my office is calling. Hope I'm not fired.
It's a full paranoia.
Yeah, it's full panic mode.
I think that goes around of what America wants, really,
Right.
corporate America.
Yeah.
They want you to get in debt, so you're constantly in fear of losing everything.
Yes.
And then, you know what I'm saying? And then they
It's a
have
great point.
They have full control of you.
Yeah,
They're like, well,
Yeah.
you lose that job, you don't have your boat, your house,
Yeah.
your family, everything's gone.
They want you to be in a state of sheer terror.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
But when you have
So
this life
true.
of no debt, like I have no debt,
Yeah.
then you're like, I'm going to New York for a
Who
month.
gives a fuck?
What
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
What's crazy
Yeah,
about
you
it?
get to do what you want.
Yeah.
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 And so you like LA, but you're thinking of maybe coming. You don't know.
Well, I like them both.
Yeah, I like them both too.
I think everybody tries to get you to go like, I think more in New York, they try to go like, yeah, fuck LA, right? You're
Yeah.
like, no, actually,
no. I
no.
never understood that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't understand.
Yeah.
It's not teams.
No.
It's not football.
No.
It's not a competition.
No.
And no one's thinking like that in LA. You know what I mean?
Nobody is.
No one's
Nobody
going like,
gives
hey,
a shit.
fuck New York. We're the ones.
No,
one.
and I went out there, man. I saw a lot of funny comics. I saw a lot of great comedy.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun. I had some crazy meetings, which I think are funny. I love
Yeah.
these crazy development meetings you have.
Oh, yeah.
With some straight up sociopaths.
We were
and-
talking about that.
I mean, vapid lunatics. But you know what, man? I went out there. I took a bunch of meetings. I kind of like was thrown into the lines and I learned how to pitch shit.
Yeah.
And it ended up helping me in some of the other meetings I had in New York was like, I went to LA where you could cobble like 20 of these things together.
Yeah.
And you just learn by falling on your face.
Yeah.
Like I had a guy look at me, I think it was Conan's production company. I went through my whole spiel and he's like, he's an old guy. He looked at me and goes, hey, I just got one question. Where does the funny come from?
Oh, my God.
I was like,
Yeah.
But then you learn, and I walked out of there, and I'm like, oh yeah, he's right. I was like tight, not funny.
Yeah.
He didn't see me as, and I was pitching an unscripted show.
Yeah.
I'm essentially pitching me, and I'm not being fucking funny.
Yeah, so he's like, this guy's
he's
boring.
like, he's like, well, what's the funny? And he's
Yeah.
right. So like learning, and then the next meeting I'm all funny.
You got to punch up your meeting.
You got to punch it up.
Right?
And then the next meeting, you're a clown, and they go, wait a minute, where's the show? Like, this has been entertaining, but if we give you money, what the hell are you going to do?
Yeah.
Learning that, and I think that's great, man, and I think that's funny, and I think that's what's cool about LA is, like, there is this fucking whole crazy business there that you got to, like, navigate and learn about.
Right.
Yeah.
I love them both,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to figure out how to do both. You know what I'm saying? So
Be rich.
yeah,
It's the way to do
well,
it.
once you're rich, then
Yeah.
it's no problem.
Then you just fucking do whatever you want.
But I do believe there's ways, and I've said it over and over. Hey, you got an apartment out there that your grandfather owns.
Yeah.
Let me know. That one.
Yeah.
Like, hey, they've got the basement
Absolutely.
apartment. It's on 14th Street.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there's ways, but in the meantime, I learned so much from doing both, and I think that is a key thing to
You
comedy.
have to. You
Because
have
it's a
to.
different animal here than it is in L.A.
Yeah, and then you go on the road, you go to Cleveland and Chicago and all these different places,
Yeah.
and you fucking put everything you learn to the test.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
that is fun. But I think eventually I might want to spend more time out there, and then maybe live there. I do think a move is gonna come.
Yeah, so
eventually.
I don't know if you can talk about it. You sold a show, right? The bus tour one. Can you
Yeah,
talk
we
about
sold that. I mean,
and it's
sure.
gonna be a Comedy Central show.
You got
to do the pilot.
We got to do that.
And what is it? It's basically
It's basically
you did it at the New York Comedy Festival.
Yeah,
a
it's
couple weeks
basically.
ago.
I'm really interested in kind of figuring out all of these mechanisms that are behind any city that kind of make it work.
Right.
And I became interested in that when I was a tour guide in New York, because you'd have to read about shit, and I just started reading about stuff that interested me. Not so much. I didn't care about the Empire State. Who gives a fuck? We know it. Unless we're talking about the company who owns it.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's interesting.
So that's interesting right there. And we're talking about who buys and sells these buildings.
Yeah.
And people buy them when they want to own something, and then they want to raise capital, and they got to get rid of them. And like, okay, so that's interesting.
How about, I read something recently that was crazy interesting.
Yeah.
That thing was built in 13 months.
13 months.
By 3,300 construction guys. 13 fucking
Amazing.
months.
Including the excavation of the land and everything was 22 months.
Can you believe it?
So that was the whole project. 13 months was the building. It went up. 102-story building went up. And so to me, I do it. And listen, here's the thing. This shit ends up, it's funny because it's so ludicrous. When I point out a building in New York and I say the average apartment there is $26 million.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
There's 13 units in that building. Okay?
Yeah.
They're all 7,500 square feet. They're all one floor. And the average price is $34 million.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Who the fuck lives there?
Yeah.
And so it's not only that. It's not only rich people, but it's like,
I've been saying that. I read that it's 1 in 10 in Manhattan are millionaires.
absolutely.
1 in 10.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
I walk around
Probably
and I'm
more
like,
now, yeah.
I'm walking around like, who the fuck is paying these rents?
But I think every city has weird shit about it. Some of it is big money. A lot of it's big money.
Right.
San Fran and all these things.
Oh, yeah.
But then you go to other cities and like, you know, maybe it's a crazy food culture, or maybe it's crime, or maybe it's fucking political corruption. But like, no travelogues ever talk about that shit,
Right.
In a funny way.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, Bourdain is very serious. What he does is good, but I want to be funny about it. And basically, we call it like an anti-travelogue, like travelogue that urges you to stay home.
Yeah.
But like, I want to go to places and find out what the fuck's going on and have arguments with people and fight with people and have fun.
And then you do it on one of those double-decker buses?
We do it on a double-decker bus. And I mean, the show is a little bit more than that, but I'll let that, when they make that announcement, I'll let that come out and, you know,
Right.
they'll tell you more about it. But that's kind of the broad strokes of it. It's
When
like,
are you starting that?
Well, we're going to shoot the pilot next year, you know, probably January or February. The whole business goes to bed pretty much from now to January.
Yep.
Can't get much done, but
And then you're going to shoot a Comedy Central special,
we're shooting
too.
that in New Orleans on December 9th.
Yeah.
So that'll be, if you're in New Orleans, come on. You know, I'm excited. There's some good shit happening.
Yeah.
And there's some good opportunities, but now you got to make something good.
Right.
Now you got to make something that people want to watch.
Yeah, what are you, 8 years in?
8 years in. This is my 8th year.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Well, in 3 weeks or something, will be exactly 8 years.
Yeah.
And what gets you into comedy? Who is your guy? Like, I look at you, and it's so funny. I look at you, I go, oh, it's got to be Artie Lang, you know?
Let me tell you now, I love Artie. Artie Lang's complimented my comedy, and it's one of the most, it's like one of the best moments ever.
Right.
Artie's one of the funniest guys in the world. You know, man, I grew up loving, I like stand-up, and I loved, like, I grew up in an era of SNL, which was like Chris Farley.
Of course.
And fucking,
Yeah, you get a lot of Farley?
I get Farley, of course.
Because I used to be fat, you know?
Yeah.
I was like,
I get Farley. I've also got that face, that Irish, you know?
Yeah, you look like Farley. And I was 40 pounds heavier, and people would always come up to me like, you remind me of Farley. And I'm like, first of all,
fuck
he weighed
you.
400.
Yeah, I was like, he's much big. He's bigger than me, but like, he's the funniest dude. So I grew up in that era of like him and Mike Myers and fucking all these people. And I loved, you know, so the dude that like really, I mean, we were doing mushrooms one night and the mushrooms wore off and a friend of mine said, you got to listen to this comedian. And we watched Bill Hicks's Montreal set.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. And he said, and I still remember it, he goes, I was in the unenviable position of being for the war, but against the troops.
Yeah.
And I thought that was maybe the funniest, craziest opener I'd ever heard of like a dude who just didn't give a fuck.
Right.
And I thought he was really funny. My comedy's nothing like his. I mean, he's a lot, you know, that guy was like, he's a warrior and everything. God, you know, but like, you know, so, but I loved it all, man. And I mean, I love Bernie Mac and I love fucking like all of those dudes, like everybody. I just love the idea. And I was always kind of a class clown.
Yeah.
So I got in at 25, you know? and I got in a little later, but
I got in at 44.
yeah, you did get it.
I got in a little later.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I think you get in when you're ready to get in.
Totally.
And when you're ready to put the work in.
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't get in at 19.
Right? Because you know work ethic.
Yeah. And what do you got? You got nothing to talk about.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, man, my roommate ate my sandwich.
Yeah, right.
You remember some of your early bits?
Yeah. I had a bit. One of my first bits was like, I remember, this was so dumb. These were dumb. But like Paris Hilton got nabbed in Vegas for, coke.
Right.
And everyone was like flipping out. This was like late 2010 when I started. And then they were like, the rest of her contents, the rest of the pocketbook contained like asthma medication and something else, like tissues. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's it? It's like Paris Hilton. Like she should have like I think I said I had this dumb line where I'm like, she should have like Avatar full body fuck condoms and like, you know, like all these things. Like, why is my grandmother packing Paris Hilton's fucking bag? Like asthma medication. Like what else?
Yeah.
This is disappointing, you know?
Nothing else in there good.
There's nothing good.
Like Valtrex and...
Coke is like what should be in there.
Yeah.
Like that's the baseline of what should be there.
I mean, if you're a billionaire...
Yeah,
how Jesus.
Jesus.
Are you not? That's one of the items.
Like I have Coke. That was one of my jokes. I'm like, I have Coke on me now.
Yeah.
What is it? You know? I'm like, that's not. So I would do shit like that.
Were you getting high still when you started?
I was right at the edge, and then I stopped.
Yeah.
And I would just do shit. Like I would, you'd find these funny articles, and you'd find dumb shit. Like there was a thing about school lunches, where they would be like, we're trying to hide the chocolate milk from kids and shit. And I would just like, you'd pick that apart and be funny, but like, that wasn't my best stuff. But I think I was always kind of like, sometimes you forget in comedy, you're like, oh, you're a funny person.
Yeah.
So you're just kind of being goofy and funny.
And where were you going on? Like Creek in the Cave and shit?
Creek in the Cave was a big part of it. I started in Long Island, and my first open mic was a tattoo parlor in Merrick, Long Island, where if you bombed, you heard the tattoo needle.
Yeah.
So if you were bombing, you'd hear zzz. And some dude like getting
a tattooing while you're going on,
Some guy with a Celtic cross on his arm would be looking at you like, this isn't great, you know?
Yeah, like, dude, your comedy's more painful than this tattoo. Right.
Like, this is brutal.
Yeah.
And then, I did a lot of black rooms early on, which were great because they gave me a shot, and nobody else would give you a shot. And then I learned, that, like, you had to go into comedy and make rooms of people that were different laugh.
Right.
Which is a huge lesson.
Universal, but without being hacky.
Yeah, without being hacky. But you got to be like, these people have a different experience than I have, but we do share a lot of things. We're humans.
Yeah.
And fucking, what can I pull from to make them laugh? And like, and then I really learned how to perform. And I had jokes about McRibs, and I had jokes about fucking like, this West Indian woman I knew who used to say things like, you know what, you can't get around here no more turtle meat. And I would do that, and they would go nuts. And then you just learn how to fucking be funny.
Right.
And then you learn, the writing and everything else, and like how to put together a bit. And that came months and years later.
Yeah. And then... When
I would do a lot of rehab shows too.
Oh yeah,
so I would do like a show.
I used to do those too.
Yeah, and they were a lot of fun because they would be like they would let you go dark and you could do whatever you wanted, and they were like, one comedian with me, I felt bad. He bombed so bad. One guy got up to leave the rehab show, and the counselor said, "If you leave this room, you go back to jail." And the guy went, "Fuck it, I'm going."
Wow, that's a bomb.
Yeah, that's when you know you're not having a good set. When the audience
sent a guy back to jail.
Yeah, the audience prefers prison to you.
Oh my god,
that was bad.
Yeah.
But
that's comedy.
That was so I kind of cut my teeth in weird.
Yeah,
rehab and Long Island tattoo part and like things
wherever
that were like
you can get on, man.
Yeah, I didn't get into clubs for a while, and that was good because I was like, by the time I got in, I kind of knew a little bit. You know?
What was the first club you started working?
Well, I did a bringer, I think, when I was early on in Long Island at a club, and that went pretty okay. But like, I did, I would do independent shows at clubs.
Right. Yeah.
But I never the first club. Like, I would do Caroline's, and I would work
Monday nights,
and then they would, then you'd start doing more and hosting and everything like that. But I'll be honest, the club that we're sitting in right now, the Stand, is where I consider like my home club. Patrick has been fucking great.
Yeah.
Paula has been great. I love Adele. Like everybody that works here has been great. And this is where I fucking, I think I got, when I did Montreal Comedy Festival in 2016, I had a set in this room.
Wow.
That got me there.
Right.
And then I had a set in the Creek that got me there. But, I remember that. And, some of the people that ended up seeing me and playing a positive role in, my career and whatever, I met here.
Right.
And saw me in this room. I love this room.
Yeah, it's magic, this room,
It's a magic room, man.
It's really amazing.
Yeah.
I've been coming here 2 years now, and I've finally figured it out, this room. It takes a while to figure it out.
Absolutely. You murder here. And you murder in tough situations here.
But a year ago, it would be hit and miss.
Yeah, last night everyone was like, it's 9/11 down there. And I walked down there and you're murdering. I'm like, well, someone figured it out.
I think the confidence level has become high now that I've figured it out. But what my mistake was when I got here a year ago was I kind of strayed off of my style a little bit, which LA is more telling some stories like Ari.
Yeah.
And if you watch Ari,
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's more a setup, punch, boom, boom, boom here. You know? So I was stripping my jokes down, and it was taking my personality out of it. Yeah. And now, you got
to mix them both.
Yeah, you got to mix them both, and you got to make the jokes better.
Yeah.
Boom. And then that's really what New York has done for me is cut a little fat, but not too much fat.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be like all of a sudden I'm like you guys where it's just set up, punch, go.
Well, I don't do that either.
No, I know. You know what I'm saying.
I sometimes should do more of that. I find when I'm not doing good, it's because I'm not being me.
Right.
So if I get up there and I'm not me, then I'm not. I told Comedy Central, I'm like, I'm going to need to have fun. Yeah. I'm not going to start saying gross shit.
Right.
I need to be me.
Yeah.
So you're getting a transcript. But this is the problem with, I think, a lot of comedy tapings.
Yeah.
People don't get it. They're trying to put something in a bottle that shouldn't be in a bottle.
Not at all.
And you got to kind of appreciate what it is, the spontaneity of it, the random. I mean, I've done some.
You can't bottle chemistry between a performer and the audience.
Yeah,
and if you try to wrangle them up like you went off of your thing, then it's just too generic and stagnant.
Yeah,
it's funny when a guy shoots his own special and he sells it on Netflix and you go, "Fuck, that's amazing." He goes, "Yeah, I had no notes."
Yeah,
no notes.
And that's the most amazing thing. I think that's the era. That's the stage in your career that I think is really exciting to be able to go, this is the thing that I made.
Right.
I made it.
Right.
And here you should see it. I think at the stage I'm in, it's kind of like you have these hybrid things where it's like, hey, I want this. And they're like, we want this. And there's value to that too, because you got to learn to work within a system. But the idea that Ari and guys like that can go out there and go, this is what we're doing. This is the theater, the venue, this is my audience, this is the fucking
and if
style.
you don't like it, see you later.
If you don't like it, fuck you. I'll sell it on my website.
I learned something this year as I got here in about June. I started watching Ari. I think he might have been on his vacation or whatever, but I watched him a couple times after he shot a special, and I realized, he's just doing Ari.
Yeah.
And this is what you're getting in this 15-minute slot. And it's different and it's great, So I was like, I got to just go back to being me. And I was more worried about getting laughs so I could keep working here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I got to keep working here.
The great thing about this club is that they love to see comics evolve.
Yeah.
And they like to see people test shit and work and be funny because we're all funny people. They get that.
Yep.
That's why they have us. They know that we're fucking capable of doing the right thing and saving ourselves and getting things back on track. And that's the thing I think is great, especially somebody like me is still really developing. You're developing.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's something great about that. Listen, man, I love the store too.
Yeah.
And I'd love to. That's a club in LA where I'd be like, oh, if I moved out there, I'd like to make inroads there because that's a magical place.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's definitely as people think. It might sound cheesy, but it is absolutely an artist colony there.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to do.
Guys like Bert go there a lot and work stuff out.
Burr?
like Kreischer and all that.
Oh, Burr. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Burr's there like four
Burr's
times
there a lot.
week,
Yeah,
and,
I would imagine.
You know,
yeah.
Rogan every night. Rogan every night a lot. You know.
Really? Yeah.
Burr Kreischer. I mean, look at Chappelle just shot a special there this week.
Yeah, yeah. It's a big deal.
Chappelle's always there when he's in town.
Yeah,
That's the place he goes.
Right.
Chris Rock. Anybody working stuff. Seinfeld was recently went on in there.
Yeah. The Cellar West.
It's exactly, it's exactly the same kind of thing. And I think that it's funny. Like I get it. Like I said, I love learning both the animals.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And once you've got that, you're like, because I never wanted to be an LA comic and I didn't want to be a New York comic. I want to be a comic.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I wanted to get to the goal to where you come here and people don't go, what are you doing here? Or how long are you here for?
Yeah.
It's, oh, yeah, he's here.
Right.
I'm here, I'm there.
Well, a lot of some of the LA dudes, and it's just kind of, and this is not all of them, and this is not even a majority of them, but every now and then you'll get somebody who just comes in and like, there's a weird like humble brag about maybe famous people they know on stage. Where they're like, it's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it's kind of weird, and it's like,
Name
that's
dropping on its
yeah,
stage.
it's like that's the total opposite energy of like what this is, like New York,
Yeah.
So like every day, but that's not anybody that I like and respect, and like all the dudes out in LA, everyone that you mentioned are phenomenal.
Yeah, exactly.
And guys that I look up to, and I'm like, I was on a Impractical Jokers cruise with Kreischer,
Right.
and I'm watching him murder in front of hundreds of people on a boat.
Right.
In the middle of the fucking ocean.
Yeah.
And it's great. And just watching him destroy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Comfortable, fucking 100%, like stories, but funny. And just like you're hanging out with a funny friend.
It's like Joey Diaz.
Yeah, Joey Diaz.
Joey
like
Diaz.
You're in their living room.
And these are guys that definitely that I look up to, mostly because the industry doesn't even look at me at all. You know?
Right.
I don't get any TV.
Yeah.
And I don't get
Fuck them, and they don't matter anymore. Yeah.
But the guys I look at are like a Kreischer, a Joey Diaz, even Burr. Burr wasn't like
absolutely.
on TV. These are guys.
Yeah.
And I remember a long time ago, I was watching something and a guy was really successful at doing something. And he goes, "Yeah, I'm self-made, man. I'm self-made." And those guys are self-made. They built their thing to where the business has to come to them.
Has to deal with
now
them.
the business is like, fuck, we can't deny. The guy's got 2 million fucking
we have to deal with
podcast listeners. Yeah.
That's the thing. That's what you look at Rogan and stuff, and you go like, it's an empire, and it's amazing, and it's because, and that's what I kind of really respect about Rogan is like, he's a dude that like loves conversation.
Yeah.
And that's why, it's probably why I'm fat, because I love going to dinner and talking to people.
I love
also
conversation
like food,
too. Like,
but
I get that. I love New York about that. Like, we were at the table last night.
Yeah. Like,
and we were having a serious conversation.
Yeah. Great conversation. And to me, it's like, I don't give a fuck about celebrities, but I do, like, I envy Rogan's ability to have great conversations with fascinating people.
Right.
That's amazing. That to me is awesome.
Well, I think that's why podcasts are so popular.
Yeah.
Because people don't have conversations.
They don't.
Anymore.
Nobody talks.
They don't, not on the phone.
Right.
They, you call them, they hit, ignore.
Yeah.
And then text you, what do you need?
Right.
Like, dude, I was calling you.
Yeah, I want to hear your voice.
I don't want 40 texts.
Yeah, what do you need?
Yeah,
it's so transactional.
Yeah, right?
What do you need?
Yeah.
God.
And I always loved conversations. That's why I love having people on the podcast, because you really, it's really interesting, you know, and it's a forgotten form.
Yeah, and that's what I really appreciate about like a lot of that LA comedies, people are telling stories and shit like that. Now I love that.
Yeah.
I think there's room for every type of comedy, but like to me it's like that setup punch, that's all great. The mechanics of it are great, but like if you're just funny and you tell a story, to me is like
Sean Patton.
Sean Patton's one of my favorites.
Al Madrigal.
Al Madrigal. All of those guys.
Fuck, Al Madrigal, man.
You know?
When he went on Conan and did 7 minutes on how to get a day labor.
Right,
and it's fucking,
it's just anybody who like, can go out and really tell like a story.
Yeah.
And have people, just kind of riveted. And I love the alt scene out there, too. I think there's a lot of funny, creative
All
fucking...
my favorites are in there. Roy Scovel.
Yeah, man.
Johnny Pemberton.
Yeah, man. Eddie
Brent
Pepitone.
Weinbach,
I fucking...
Brent Weinbach.
Yeah,
Eddie
Brent Weinbach.
Pepitone.
I love those guys,
fucking...
And there's people that even, like... I'll see things on social media sometimes where people write stuff and I'll be like, they're crazy, they're a little nuts.
Yeah.
But then like I will say when I watch them, I'll be like, they're undeniably talented.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even when I'm like, oh my God, like some of the things that people write are beyond the pale.
Yeah.
Where they're I mean, these are people that like crucified Fallon for having Trump on.
Yeah.
And then they go on Fallon.
Yeah.
And they're like dancing on Fallon. I'm like, does anyone have any idea what values are? And the answer is no.
Well, that gets back to work ethic, too.
Yeah.
You know, that old, he sucked a dick to get fucking stage time and all that bullshit, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what are your morals and what are your art? You know, what do you think of artistic, value?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, that old thing of, oh, did someone sell out or whatever, all that bullshit. But at the bottom line is, if you're just doing something to get famous, you've already lost.
You've already lost.
You've already lost.
Yeah. And
I'm 51. If I was worried about getting famous, I would have been out years ago.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even have started.
Yeah. No, I think the coolest thing in the world is getting on a stage in front of a bunch of people you don't know.
Yeah.
Making them laugh.
Yeah.
That to me is the way that I want to live my life. I also would love a show, and I love to do all that. That's what I love about the tour bus thing, is it's like, okay, it's taking something I love and flipping it on its head and doing it in a weird way.
Right.
And that people dig it because they're like, oh, you get on a tour bus, you don't expect this crazy fuck to get on here and start yelling at you.
Yeah.
But when it happens, it's funny.
Were you making good tips on those tour things?
Sometimes.
Because they're supposed to tip you, right?
Well, sometimes people tip me and sometimes people didn't, because they blame you for everything.
Yeah.
So it's like they're sitting there in the rain.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I missed my Broadway show. And I'm like, I told you to take the subway.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I don't want to take the subway. They blame you for traffic.
Yeah.
New York is not a relaxing city to visit.
It's a rever.
And there's schedules and shit. So people are missing shit. They're angry. And they're fucking. And these ticket salesmen, they lie to them. They tell them the bus takes you to your hotel and it runs 24 hours. And I'm like, how dumb are all you people?
Yeah.
You know how many hotels there are? What do you think we stub it? What are we going to pick you up at 3 a.m.? No. Fucking. So you have to kind of bear the brunt of that.
Yeah.
And I would also be talking about Mark Zuckerberg wanting to put chips in people's heads.
Yeah.
And they're like, what kind of tour is this? So some people would tip. Some people would go, this is the best thing I've ever heard. You know? And then some people would go, this wasn't really appropriate for children.
Oh. I forgot there's children on there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. Did you ever get fired or anything?
No. I mean, it's such a shitty job.
Right.
There's not a million people that want to stand in the rain and the snow.
Yeah.
I mean, for $15 an hour.
Wow. Oh, wow.
And listen, you could get some tips. It's not the worst job out there.
Yeah.
But there's a million of these companies. They'll all kind of hire you if one fires you.
Yeah.
It's not that great of a gig.
Not at all.
It's an exhausting gig.
Yeah.
In the summer, you do 3 or 4 tours a day.
Wow.
You're working
Voice
8,
is
10
getting
hours.
fried.
Your voice is fried. You're fried. You're standing on a fucking tour bus. But when I look back on it, and I'm like,
that was your beginning of your open mics.
that was the beginning of everything.
Yeah.
Like, that ended up being a funny thing that I now do for money. It ended up being a thing I'm really passionate about making a show because I think it would be fucking hilarious. That thing that I would curse every time I walked off of it, I'd be like, God damn it. I never want to see a bus again. Now I'm fucking going into networks and going, give me a bus.
Yeah.
I'll get on it. So I think the moral of the story is you don't fucking know anything.
Yeah.
Even the shit you're going through, you think's the worst thing.
Well, the shit becomes your ammo later.
Yes.
It's like me selling motorcycles.
Yeah.
That was crowd work.
Right.
That's what sales is. It's crowd work.
It's crowd work.
You're like, oh, man. You're standing next to the guy, and you're like, dude, you got to get this motorcycle. Another guy comes in, you're like, look at this jackass, dude. You're not going to be like that, dude. You're going to be cool. And they're like, I am going to be cool.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, that's so funny. Where you from?
Yeah.
You guys together? It is crowd work.
Crowd work.
That's so funny. That's all sales.
Are you a music guy?
Love music. My dad was a singer, was a musician, had a band in Long Island. It was a pretty big band in the 70s called Full Circle.
Oh, really?
They toured around.
Rock and roll?
Originals, made a living for a decade.
Wow.
And then, they all started to have kids.
Did they play with anybody famous ever?
I think so.
Like Twisted Sister or
They
something?
played with people. I would have to know. He knew the Brian Setzer Orchestra, those dudes. He knew them. That guy was kind of coming up around the same time he was coming up. There was really famous. There's a few famous places in Long Island. Like one of them was called My Father's Place. One of them was called the Oak Beach Inn or some shit. And Rod Stewart and Springsteen, all these guys would come through. I don't know who they played with, but he was big in music. He had a studio in the house when I grew up, and he still is. And he got into folk music, folk rock. So guys like John Hyatt and guys like John Prine and people like even Amy Mann. Talk about L.A. Amy Mann and fucking so I was into Lucinda Williams and Emmylou Harris and fucking
Car Wheels on a Gravel Road.
The best.
The masterpiece.
So I was in all that shit. So I love that shit. I'll go see these people play in fucking churches. I don't give a my friends will make fun of me. They're like, this is the gayest thing you fucking do.
Yeah.
But I don't give a shit because these guys are storytellers, and I think that's like comedy.
Oh, God,
they don't give a fuck. James McMurtry in Austin, Texas.
What about the next phase? Did you get into Wilco and Sunvolt?
Little bit. I never got into the next, like Jason Isbell and them. I never got into that phase. I also love rap music. I grew up with rap, gangster rap music.
Of course.
So it's I love classics. I love the 60s. I had all that shit, when I was a kid. So
gangster folk would be interesting.
Gangster folk would be great.
Gangster folk, right.
And a lot of
it's folk music. It'd be it'd be like straight out of Oklahoma.
Right.
Didn't get a diploma.
Well, there's
it's like Springsteen but rap.
There's a guy named John Gawker who's a really good folk singer, and he's got this song called "Where the Bottles Break."
Yeah,
talking about how much he hates gentrification, and it's like a rap song.
Yeah,
but with a guitar.
It's
cool. It's like one of those things. But I was always big into those dudes, and when I did South by Southwest last year, I fucking. I was like James McMurtry, who's I'm a huge fan of him, and I popped in to see Sean Colvin, and so all those people, anybody gets on stage with a guitar and goes, "This is me."
Yeah,
I dig, because to me, I'm like, that's kind of like what we're doing.
That's what I did for 25 years.
Yeah, no, I know, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's awesome, man, and that's the one thing. That's the one thing to me. It's like comedy's real cool. Never be cooler than that. It'll never be cooler. Comedy's very cool, but there's something universal about music.
Well,
something amazing about music.
You can play the same songs every year.
There's something amazing about when you play a song and a 2-year-old starts to. My cousin, a little more successful than me.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, my second cousin.
Yeah.
He wrote the music for a few shows. Okay.
Yeah?
One of them was called Avenue Q.
Yeah.
On Broadway. Another one was called The Book of Mormon.
Oh, yeah. Whoa.
Okay, another one was a Disney movie called Frozen. He wrote a song called Let It Go.
Wow.
Da-na-na, da-na-na. He's what they call an EGOT winner. Wow. He's won an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony.
Holy shit.
Yeah, but I'll be at Bananas in Hasbrook Heights. Everyone's doing fine. But my point is that, there's something amazing. That Let It Go song.
Yeah.
That he fucking wrote on a piano.
You should come out to that.
There are YouTubes of babies.
Yeah.
Connecting with that.
Know it.
And are into it. And singing it. Of every race is something amazing about not having the borders of language.
Yeah.
And so, he's an interesting guy.
That's great, yeah.
Yeah, I've met him twice.
I always love, when I talk to, Burr and those guys, and they go around. Burr went around the world and did comedy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just your stuff? And he's like, just my stuff.
Wow.
No changes, nothing? He goes, nope.
It is what it is, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
What did he say?
Just said it's fucking hard sometimes, and sometimes it fucking works.
I went to Scotland, one of the best shows of my life.
Wow, Edinburgh or something?
Glasgow, comedy festival, at a place called The Stand in Glasgow.
Oh wow,
what a club! One of the best rooms
in the world. Do these guys
world.
manage you?
No.
Oh, who manages you? You must got good management.
I got a guy named Brian Stern, who's a really good dude. I like him a lot. He just looks at me and goes like this, no matter what I say. He goes, "Hey, it's great."
It's great.
It's great. He's been in business 20 years.
Wow.
So he's one of these dudes who's doesn't really feel, but he goes, hey. It's great. It's great. Hey.
Dude, I didn't know your manager was Nick Nolte.
Yeah, he is. Trust me. He's got like Colin Quinn.
Yeah.
He's got Samantha
yeah.
Bee.
Yeah.
He's got Dan Soder and Chris Gethard, guys that I respect and like.
Oh fuck yeah.
Yeah, he's a good dude, and he fucking signed me when I was on a tour bus.
Wow.
So
really?
yeah, so it's kind of like
he saw you on the tour bus.
no, he just I was still working.
Oh, I got you.
A day job when the guy says so like. He's the dude that like, and my agent I love, Hillary, is fucking great. And like, listen, hey, knock on wood, these are this is the team forever.
Yeah,
forever. Fuck it.
Yeah, they took chance.
They took a chance.
Yeah.
So I'm big into that. You know,
rock and roll, man. Well, dude, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, dude. I appreciate. I'm gonna look you up when we're in LA. When I'm in LA.
Oh, yeah. You want to stay at my place? Or
yeah,
whatever,
absolutely. I'll be in January.
Yeah, I'll be
we'll
there.
Go do some Thai food or something.
Let's do it. I'll take you all around, man.
Thank you so much.
Quick, your Twitter and Instagram.
Tim J. Dillon, Dillon on Twitter and Instagram. TimDillonComedy.com. If you want, we have a mailing list. Whether you're in New York or LA, you could sign up. We don't email you a lot. I don't have that much going on. We email you once 24 hours before those tickets for the tour bus become public.
Badass. So
you have a chance if you want, just because tickets are on sale now, we send you the link. If you want tickets, we're going to do it in LA. We're doing it in New York again in the spring. So if you want tickets, get on that. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, man. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. That is another episode of Let There Be Talk live from New York at the Stand. Make sure you subscribe and leave a review. That's how we keep the show in the top 100. Candles lit.